everyone, this is Big Entertainment and we're back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're going to talk about undisputably one of the most famous movie stars within all of the last 20th century, and that is Tom Cruise, and go over the best movies of his long time accomplished career. So the first entry within this list is Rain Man. Barry Levinson's human drama has Cruise as a wheeler dealer who, after his father dies, goes to claim the estate will of $3 million, but he learns that it's been entrusted to his unknown brother Raymond, who is autistic. Now, whilst admittedly it is Dustin Hoffman's amazing Oscar-winning performance that drives this film, Cruise still more than holds his own, and the chemistry that he has with Hoffman is everything, and a genuine, heartfelt, if not slightly ponderous drama that went on to become the highest grossing movie of 1988, and still remains one of Cruise's most commercially successful movies outside of the Mission Impossible series. And whilst I felt that Mississippi Burning was the more powerful movie of the year, Rain Man ended up taking 5 Oscar awards, including Best Picture. We move on to, without question, one of Cruise's most underrated films, and that is Valkyrie. Set in Nazi Germany, World War II, where Cruise plays the role of Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg, who heads the group to plan the assassination of Hitler. Using all of the suspenseful sensibilities from The Usual Suspects, Bryan Singer creates an expertise in both tension and suspense that grips you all the way despite knowing the historical outcome. Whilst it was very controversial upon its release for the likes of Cruise and other accomplished actors such as Terence Stamp, Bill Nighy, for using their more native accents rather than the Germanic, authentic ones, Valkyrie still remains an accomplished piece of filmmaking that's well worth watching and definitely a fine entry in Cruise's cinematography. We'll move on to the next option on this list, and that is Edge of Tomorrow, which is the science fiction time travel adventure set in the future where Officer Tom Cruise is forced to join the military to resist a beach alien invasion. After encountering one of the aliens, he finds himself in a constant time loop, trying to discover the key to defeating and preventing the alien invasion from ever happening. Adapted from the Japanese novel titled All You Need Is Kill, this is a supremely engaging and entertaining movie, the first 2/3 especially being its strongest, with some stunning special effects and good interplay with its premise, and Cruise does fine in a lead role alongside Emily Blunt, who looks very good especially when she's doing all of those press-ups. But a very good blockbuster piece of entertainment that's definitely got a lot of rewatchability and value, despite it not being a huge blockbuster success upon its release, but it's very much a sense of fun and invention all the way through when watching this film. So I do then suppose that any list of Cruise movies wouldn't be right without mentioning the Mission Impossible series. That's really defined so much of his career since the first movie debuted way back in 1994, which was a big budget adaptation of the classic 60s Spies television series. And when assessing the best of the now 8 installments within the franchise, I have it at a tie with both Mission Impossible Rogue Nation and Mission Impossible Fallout. Both entries had Cruise's Ethan Hunt and his IMF team dealing with the terrorist network known as the Syndicate, firstly with Solomon Lane in Rogue Nation and then later on in August Walker in Fallout. And both entries remain the real excellence of the franchise, with truly exceptional stunt sequences that are both bright, imaginative and very expertly staged. Rogue Nation has more of that team dynamic and chemistry, whereas Fallout has really more of that epic scope and spectacular climax. And there's an equal strong case for both being the best of the franchise, but either way, they both remain amongst the true peak of the series, both creatively and commercially, and definitely amongst the best of the entire series. We then move on to Minority Report. The science fiction adaptation of Philip K. Dick's novel was the first of Cruise's 2 collaborations with legendary director Steven Spielberg. Set in a distant future, Cruise is the head of the pre-crime police force, which through the aid of psychics look to prevent crimes and apprehend the perpetrators in the future before the crime is actually committed. Very much a stunning, bleak science fiction story that works more as a mystery and a secret backstory rather than an all-out cyberpunk action movie that people thought it probably was at the time of its release, and certainly what it appeared on the surface. But beneath the surface, there is far more intelligence and emotional weight and aesthetic vision also. It is really at times a masterwork from Steven Spielberg, and Cruise performs very well as a man who is burdened by the loss of his son and striving every ounce of survival when he turns out to be the next suspect for murder. It still remains a stunning piece of science fiction set in the early 2000s. Perhaps it's not quite as entertaining or rewatchable as, let's say, Total Recall, but it is far more accomplished, and Minority Report represents the start of both a commercial and creative great run for Cruise throughout the early 2000s. And staying on that trajectory of science fiction, we'll focus next on Cruise's second collaboration with Spielberg, and that is with The War of the Worlds. The big budget adaptation of H.G. Wells' classic science fiction novel sees Cruise as a steelworker working in Brooklyn who has to frantically protect his family from a truly destructive alien invasion. Full of escalating tension and large-scale set pieces, this remains still one of Spielberg's most darkest and scariest movies. Very much more in his post-Schindler's List phase of deconstructive blockbusters, and Cruise once more delivers a solid performance. A convincing portrayal of a man desperate, resolute in doing whatever it takes to save his family. Despite a somewhat flat, underwhelming climax, War of the Worlds is still an atmospheric and brooding fusion of science fiction and horror, and a very impressive entry within Cruise's career. We then turn to one of Cruise's top tier entries, and that is with the nocturnal noir crime thriller called Collateral. This was notable for being Cruise's first villainous role within his career, and here he plays charismatic hitman Vincent, who apprehends and terrorizes taxi cab driver Jamie Foxx to drive him all around the city in order to take out his designated targets. Michael Mann's superlative movie creates an LA underworld full of blues and greys and really a sense of desolation. And we get those usual contrasts and tones, very typical for Michael Mann's work, very similar to what we saw in Heat, but in comparison, Collateral is a far smaller scale project where the real heart of the movie is the dynamic between the two lead characters within a taxi. And Collateral represents one of Cruise's best ever performances, mixing in his typical trademark cockiness with a much more darker, sinister layer. And it is the alpha-beta relationship with Jamie Foxx that, no pun intended, really drives the movie. With much more nuance and complexity in terms of character, at many times this feels more like an independent project than rather a big summer blockbuster release. Despite the spectacular set piece of the nightclub shootout sequence, this is much more of a great movie focused on philosophy and perspective. And again, this was during the period where Cruise was taking far more greater risk and diverse choices with his movies, and here he truly delivers an outstanding performance. And if Collateral is one of Cruise's best performances, then we next turn to what is without question his best role in Born of the 4th of July. Oliver Stone's harrowing and at times devastating drama follows real-life soldier Ron Kovic, who after becoming paralysed in the Vietnam War conflict, has to battle through the physical and emotional trauma and tries to find his way back within society. The second of Oliver Stone's Vietnam trilogy carries the same power and emotional weight as both Platoon and Heaven and Earth, this time showing an anger and disdain of America's entry into Vietnam. And in the central role of Kovic, Cruise is the absolute heartbeat, so vividly displaying all of the rage, confusion, disillusionment and despair. And it really is a difficult watch at times, this movie, especially in the early stages of Kovic's ordeal, and Cruise delivers in every single moment and every single scene. And this was at the time when he really went against the more conventional image of him being the pretty boy teen heartthrob that he managed to solidify with movies such as Risky Business, Top Gun and Cocktail. But make no mistake about it, in terms of pure acting ability, this is his greatest screen performance that in any other year would have absolutely guaranteed him the Best Actor Oscar award, but he was denied by Daniel Day-Lewis's equally great performance in My Left Foot. But a truly magnificent movie and performance, and in terms of pure acting, I'm not sure that Cruise will ever again come to matching or even surpassing this truly great performance. And so we come to it at last then, the number one entry on this list, for me the most impressive film within Tom Cruise's career, and that is with The Last Samurai. Edward Zwick's sweeping historical epic has Cruise starring as US Captain Nathan Algren, within the 18th century, who is assigned to aid the training of a Japanese army to curtail the growing samurai rebellion within the country. After a furious encounter against the samurai, Algren is captured and gets to learn the ways of their tradition, honour, combat, and legacy. And it really is a sweeping, magnificent historical film full of great cinematography, an absolute incredible musical score by Hans Zimmer, amongst one of his best, and a truly accomplished cast, especially featuring a great supporting turn from Ken Watanabe. The Last Samurai provides everything you could want from story, emotion, spectacle, and has a real sincerity and integrity about it. It truly is every bit as beautiful as it is spectacular, looking and sounding, and very much evoking a lot of the classic Akira Kurosawa movies within the early 1960s. And yes, people may say it's a variant of the Dances with Wolves narrative, that white saviour archetype, but still, this is such a wonderful, superior experience. And Cruise is excellent in the lead role, conveying that strong leading performance with a sense of conviction and passion. A character who is very much haunted by their dark past. So, overall, a brilliant movie, hitting all the right notes in terms of beauty, spectacle, and overall story. And that, for me, is the key reason why The Last Samurai remains the best Tom Cruise movie. Say some thoughts and feelings when given a breakdown of the best movies within Tom Cruise's long-time career. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any other further movies, television series, or any other topics within the pop entertainment and culture scene that you'd like to see me cover within the channel, then also let me know within the comments, and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please also hit like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.